Hey there, welcome to the Flute 360 podcast. I'm Dr. Heidi K. Begay, and I'm a flutist, educator, coach, and podcaster. My God-given mission is to serve you. I am passionate about guiding you, the modern-day flutist, to discover your unique voice on and off the stage. The goal of this podcast is to help you thrive, both as an artist and as a musicpreneur. Go ahead and grab some espresso, your favorite notepad, and let's get to it. Today's episode 201 is titled Building Collaborative Relationships. Initiate, Cultivate, and Scale. Hey there! Before you consume today's content, I want to invite you to Flute 360's Mastermind, which is going to be held Friday, May 6, 2022 at 10 a.m. Central Time. The reason why I am scheduling such an event is because you've been asking for this space. I have heard time and time again these last few months of, hey, I want to move the needle forward for my career, but I don't know how. Or, hey, I want a sense of community. I want a sense of belonging to a group that includes like-minded musicians like myself to help me, to encourage me, to hold me accountable. Well, guess what? This space is for you, and you're invited. So go to the show notes below, click the registration link, and sign up. I want to motivate you, I want to encourage you, and I want to help you thrive in your music career or business. Come pick my brain, come learn from other musicians and or musicpreneurs, and let's do this together. I'll see you then. Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Heidi K. Begay, and I'm so appreciative of being in this space with you. Major kudos to Dr. Barry and her team through the Flute Magazine, and congratulations on a huge accomplishment with the magazine and all of the lives that you have touched throughout your content. So with this celebration, we are going to look at different topics through their 4 different columns that they have laid out so beautifully for us. Thank you for having me be a part of this in a very small way. And my presentation is titled Building Collaborative Relationships, Initiate, Cultivate, and Scale. Now, this conversation and this topic is perfect under their column 1, which goes under career and career development. Okay? So I am a flutist, an educator, a coach, and a podcaster. I have 2 podcasts, and they are called Flute 360 and The Pivoting Musician, which I co-host with my partner in crime, Dr. Garrett Hope. So I say this because I want you to know that I'm an educator and a performer just like you, and I have this technological thing of podcasting off to the side. And I've learned a lot about being a podcaster throughout the years. And that is that when we put people first, the sky is the limit when it comes to opportunities. And I say that from a very authentic and genuine place. If we put people first, and if we can really listen and build these amazing collaborative relationships, then opportunities unfold if you can find a really good win-win for both parties. So as I have interviewed hundreds of guests through the podcast, as I have interacted with flutists from across the globe, from them being amazing, supportive podcast listeners for Flute 360, I have learned this nugget time and time again. And so I thought that if we focused on relationships for one presentation within column 1, that's how I would like to serve you today. Now, normally this presentation is something that I have presented upon through different festivals, conferences, and summits. And with all of the details, this presentation could easily take about 45 to 50 minutes. Now, I know that these presentations are more like 15, 20 minutes, and I'm going to be really respectful of that time. But if you want more information on this topic, feel free to reach out to me through my email or my website. So HeidiKBigay@gmail.com or HeidiKBigay.com. Okay. And my first name is spelled Heidi. I would love to be in communication with you. And if you want a PDF file of this PowerPoint, I would love to email that to you ASAP. So, circling back to why I'm super passionate about people. And that's because, as creative artists, we have so many ideas when it comes to compositions, studio recitals, different projects, collaborative works with other artists like dancers, painters, etc. And just like you, I ask a lot of different questions when it comes to a new collaboration. I'm thinking of who, what, where, when, why, and how. And you can see here through your screen that who and why is highlighted in pink. The reason being is because I need to first figure out, why am I doing this project? Is it in alignment with who I am as an educator, as a performer, and as a collaborator? And then when I can check that box and say, yes, like I want to do this and I have very good reasons why I'm doing this, it's moving the needle forward for my studio or for my business, whatever the case may be, then yay. Then I can start thinking about the who, what, where, when, and how. But the next element that is super imperative to this line of questioning is the who. And we need to build relationships, put people first. And from there, as you're building your orbit of wonderful people and you're building these relationships, then you have these warm, beautiful, meaningful relationships surrounding you. And then when it comes time to thinking about a specific music summit or putting together a very specific studio project, and you think, who would be really good to fulfill this role? Then you can go to your orbit because you've already built those relationships throughout the weeks, months, and years. And you can be like, oh, Jane, oh, Joe, oh, Maria, oh, Jose. And you can find that win-win and then start doing this and start connecting the dots and building something together. Okay? So we cannot do it alone. Whether you are building a digital course for your music community, whether you are commissioning something, we cannot do it alone. So when you lead with this heart of servitude, you will go super, super far. Now, a lot of people will say, hey, Heidi, I know you are kind of an extrovert and a social butterfly, but for me, I'm more of an introvert. I totally empathize with that. My best friend is an introvert. My husband is an introvert. So I get it. Like picking up the phone, knocking on somebody's door can feel really intimidating. Another pain point that I hear people say to me is, well, I'm under this impression that everybody is way too busy. Who would have time to work with me or to answer my email? I don't want to bother them. And then the last pain point that I hear a lot of times is, around this idea of and this umbrella of imposter syndrome and how that can sneak in. Why would somebody want to work with me? So I bring up these pain points because I hear you. I know what possibly could be going on in your head, and I kind of want to put it out on the table, and I want to debunk these 3 myths. Okay. And what I would say in debunking these myths is, even if you are an introvert, and I totally honor your personality and how you work and how you function in this beautiful world, we can, and I encourage you to maybe try on an extrovert outfit and give it a try. And even if you slip into that role and you kind of play pretend to be somebody else, even for an hour, it could really work for you. There's an amazing podcast episode done by Amy Porterfield, and she talks about being an introvert living in an extrovert's world. Okay, so you may want to check out that resource if you so wish. Now, yes, everyone is so busy. I totally get that. But the thing that I want to debunk with this myth is you never know until you ask. Don't assume that somebody is busy just because, appearances can be a little deceiving through social media, right? Or maybe somebody is coming down from a certain project and they have more time coming up within the next quarter. You just never know. So I don't want that to be the reason why you don't pursue somebody, okay? And imposter syndrome. I have been there so many times. The worst that could happen, and I tell this to myself every single day, the worst that can happen is that somebody says no. But I kindly, lovingly tell myself the world keeps spinning. Tomorrow is a new day. The sun is still going to come up. So that's the worst, outcome, the worst possibility. Somebody says no. But I want to encourage you and I want to infuse you with some confidence. And that is you alone bring a very unique set of skills, your talent stack, to the table. I say this often. And the funny thing is, I kind of notice how wonky of a statement this is, but I'm going to go for it. I notice, and when I see people, I see them almost as like walking thumbs. And the reason why I say that is because we all have a unique set of fingerprints, right? You are a unique thumbprint in this world. Only you and your expertise and your perspective is one of a kind. And how you help somebody get from point A to point B is going to look completely different than somebody else helping said person, go through the same process. So I want you to have confidence. I want you to know that you've got this. And that's where the growth happens. That's where the magic happens when you step outside of your comfort zone. So like I said again, I'm going to just highlight some things because normally this presentation is usually about 45 to 50 minutes long. And again, I'm just going to highlight the big nuggets. But if you want more information, you can always reach out to me. Great. So when we are thinking of collaborators, right, and people who we can collaborate with, again, I think of it like a solar system, right? We have the sun, and then we have the planets around the sun that are the most warm because distance-wise, they are the closest to the sun, right? And then we have the further out planets. So I want you to be pulling into your orbit, say you are the sun, right? I want you to be pulling into your orbit Mercury, Venus, Mars, Earth, and I want you to be the initiator. I want you to be the one that pulls, like the gravity. I want you to be pulling these planets, these people, into the inner circle, the closest part to the sun. Okay? So you need to be the seeker. You need to be the initiator. This is the biggest thing. This is the biggest hurdle that people have when it comes to building relationships. I am not judging anyone out there. I am totally guilty of this, where we kind of sit on our hands and, sit here with our hands in our lap. And sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes we wait for the door to knock. I want you to be the knocker, okay? Now, the more you knock, the more you show up and say, hey, Jane, hey, Joe, I want to get to know you because I think what you're doing is really cool. What ends up happening is that is returned back to you in a later season. So as I'm over here knocking on doors, say over here on path A, sometimes they open, sometimes they don't. But what happens in the next season, oftentimes right around the corner, somebody on path B will be over here. I'm not even looking in that direction. And as I'm pursuing people, people over here on path B are pursuing me. So if you show up, you are going to start noticing other people are going to start seeking you out too. But it starts with you. Now, where can you start pulling these people into your orbit? Well, pretty much anywhere. I know that sounds like a very blanketed answer, but it is so true. The most obvious, of course, right, are music festivals, summits, conferences, schools, colleges, conservatories. But I want you to think of the non-music places as well. I have made relationships at the grocery store, at the car wash, at the nail salon, and you can too. You just have to find a common thing that threads the two of you together, start up a conversation, and go from there. And really, I have been completely blown away by how these even non-music events like the nail salon have brought me fruitful, meaningful relationships. So if you want to hear someday about the nail salon story, I would love to share it with you because Naija is a treat, such a magnetic woman. And from just a 10-minute conversation with her at the nail salon, we were able to be corporate sponsorships or corporate sponsors for each other through our different endeavors. I was able to play flute for her at this Italian aria thing where I was able to mingle with people through Steinway. She's come in through other avenues of my business, and that was all from a 10-minute conversation at a nail salon. So I want you to be really creative, keep your eyes and ears open all the time. Okay? So as you're getting to know people and, well, just even initiating, how are you going to do this? What does this look like? I want you to put in your calendar right now, or your schedule, or a diary, or a journal right now, that you are going to start up a new conversation with a new person every week. And you're going to reach out to 5 new people. Okay? So by the end of the month, 5 times 4 is 20. In the month, you have initiated, you haven't necessarily cultivated and scaled all of these relationships because there's not enough time in the day. 5 times 4 is 20. You have a pool now of 20 possible people that you could possibly collaborate with on some level in the current season or in the near future. Okay, so that's your goal. Initiate 20 new relationships every month. And I know that sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. So if you looked at my calendar right now, it would say initiate 5 on Monday morning. I've timed it out for my clients and it will take you exactly 10 minutes. That's it. I think one time I did the test and it was like 9 minutes and 33 seconds. It is so quick and easy. And how you are starting this relationship is from anywhere. You know, as long as it comes from an authentic and genuine place, you are golden. You can start up a conversation based on geography. Oh, I saw that you played last week in Texas. Did you know that I live in Dallas? That's a great starter. Or, check them out. Just peruse through their YouTube channel or their blog or their podcast or their website. Sign up to their newsletter and then start up a conversation. Hit reply on that newsletter and say, I love your content and what you are doing, Jane. It's phenomenal. Boom, you've initiated. That's all it takes. I think that would take you a total of maybe 2 minutes. So I want you to do that 5 times a week with 5 new people. Okay? And then notice what names are popping up in other conversations with your friends. So case in point, I was talking to Garrett and he was bringing up Dr. Brian Shin in Seattle. And then I was talking with Eric Branner through Fonz, and he was bringing up Dr. Brian Shin's name in our conversations. I'm like, oh, ding, ding, ding. Red flag, waving over here in my mind's eye, like, pay attention, Heidi. So when you notice, like, when the Garretts and the Erics of the world bring up Brian's name, that's your clue to reach out to Brian Shin. And I did just that. And now we are friends and collaborators through a couple different realms. So that's one place where you can kind of notice and look and be aware of what's happening around you. Okay. And then, just as you're pulling people into your orbit, pull the people who inspire you, who are the doers, who motivate you, who you admire from afar. Okay. Maybe this is a person that shares a similar interest or passion or niche that you do. Maybe it's somebody who you share a mutual friend with. The sky's the limit. Do you see like of all the possibilities that are out there for you? So I need you to initiate because, well, one, oh my goodness, again, when it comes time to put people together for a collaboration, you will know who's perfect for what. And then, building meaningful relationships, that in of itself is such a blessing, right? So after you have initiated this person, get to know them, okay? And the only way you can do that is if you exchange contact information. So I want you to bookmark their website. I want you to sign up to their newsletter list so that way you have their email, exchange information like social media handles, etc. One thing that I love to do, especially if it's an in-person encounter like Nija from the nail salon, is to exchange a business card, but not just any business card, a digital business card. So right here, I have this digital business card from Dot. So if you go to dotcard.net, you can choose between the flat, the bubble, and an actual card that looks like a debit card. It is phenomenal. I am the most technologically illiterate person you will ever meet. If I can build a profile through Dot, you can too. So this flat here was 20 American dollars. After I received my Dot card, then I went on the back end, created my profile, and I've integrated all of the different ways in which a person could reach out to me. Phone, address, like a mailing address, my Spotify, YouTube channel, Apple Podcast, PayPal, my website, etc. So you can customize it any way that you like. So I wanted to give you that resource because you need their contact information to build that relationship, right? Just like the friends in your life or the partner that you have, you had to pursue them. You had to message or call them, not on a daily basis. You don't have to like stalk your new friends that you're making, but pop in once a week. Say, hey, I noticed you put out a new blog article. That is wonderful. Thank you for sharing your ideas. And then this gets you to start cultivating these relationships. Now, I'm a huge advocate for picking up the phone. We get just slammed with so many different emails, right? And text messages from people. How special would it be to hear somebody's voice or to see somebody's face through a Zoom call just for 15, 20 minutes to, I want to get to know you? That's going to transmit so much beautiful energy. And that's going to help cultivate that relationship that much quicker. You can still cultivate a relationship through text messages and emails. I'm not saying that you can't, but there's something when it comes to this human interaction. People and humans love to connect with voices and faces and see your body language. And that relationship I wholeheartedly believe this, will scale much quicker. Okay. So as you're getting to know them, listen to their stories, listen to their pain points, listen to their hopes, dreams, and desires. Be curious, ask some heartfelt questions. Okay. Because that's how you're going to get to know somebody, right? Is cultivating that relationship. So, another way you can cultivate relationships is really taking an interest in the person and their work. So, I mentioned this earlier. I encourage you, as you are cultivating two of these new relationships, right? I want you to really be curious and admire their work and get involved. So if your new friend is a podcaster, subscribe or follow their show. If they write a blog, follow their blog. If they have a YouTube channel where they are posting new performances up through their channel, subscribe to their YouTube channel. Leave a comment. Amazing performance, beautiful flute tone. I love your expression. Amazing vibrato. Okay? That's a great way for them to know that you care. And as you are scaling these relationships and you are thinking of who would be perfect for said project, right? This takes time, and that's okay. A lot of times people think that it has to scale right away. Some of the best collaborations that I have done through Flute 360 has been something that has scaled into a beautiful collaborative relationship years after the initial initiation. That was kind of wonky to say. But it's so true. So don't be in a rush. Let things naturally, organically evolve the way they need to. But going back to tidbit number 1 about you being the initiator, you being the seeker, at some point, if you really want to pursue Jane and you're like, oh my goodness, we would be perfect for this project, then I lovingly encourage you for you to ask, for you to scale it and say, hey, Jane, as I've been getting to know you, I have this great idea. Tell me your thoughts. What do you think? Would you be down for something like this? They would be probably, I can't put words in Jane's mouth, but what I have seen time and time again is for people to be floored that you would consider them and that you thought of them. It would probably put the biggest smile on their face. Okay. So you may have to just put out the ask, and be confident in that. Now, this relationship could scale into a multitude of different things, or it doesn't scale at all. And that's okay. Both are beautiful. So if it does scale, it could scale into just continuing the friendship. Awesome. Amazing. That's a win. Or it could scale into a business relationship. Maybe now this person is going to be a client of yours. Maybe this person is going to be a partner, an investor, a sponsor, a colleague, a performer. Again, the sky's the limit. You won't know what it's going to scale into until you get your hands a little dirty, right? Or if you get your feet a little wet. You got to be in action to know, to obtain that clarity. Now, sometimes it is super clear how that relationship is going to unfold. Both you and Jane will be like, yep, got it. We are on the same page. Let's do it. It's going to be super obvious. But if it's not, that's okay too. If you know something's there, if you recognize like, ooh, there's a synergy here, but I'm not quite sure how it could unfold, say that out loud. I did that with Brian Shin, going back to my first example. Because Garrett and Eric mentioned Brian, I called up Brian and said, hey, you don't know me, but guess what? There's a lot of people in my orbit who love you. and I want to pull you into my orbit because why not? And he had a lot of great ideas about academia and musicianship and compositions. And I was intrigued. I was floored by his knowledge and his talents. And I said at the end of the conversation, Brian, there's something here. I'm not quite sure what it is, but can we put a pin in it? Could we sleep on it? And he's like, heck yeah, let's think about it. And then probably 3 or 4 months later, he was invited to be a presenter at the Ultimate Music Business Summit. And that's something that I co-organized with Garrett and Arthur. So that's a great example of I didn't know how it was going to unfold, but I knew I wanted to work with Brian in some capacity. Months later, it was the right time. And then we found that fit. Okay. And the other thing that I will say is if it does evolve, say this relationship does evolve into where there's monetary transactions being had, that's great. That's wonderful. But my disclaimer is always put the person first. So the thing that I teach my clients is transformations over transactions. Okay. When you come from this place, you are going to be A-okay. Now, if the relationship doesn't scale, that's okay too, I promise. Like I said earlier with Brian, right? It could scale later, and that's great, okay? Keep cultivating the relationship if it doesn't scale within that particular season. Or say, that season never comes. That's A-okay too. I encourage you to perhaps put Jane, that person, into somebody else's orbit. Start up an introductory email and say, hey, Sue, you would be a really cool fit to know what Kelly is doing through getting gigs or whatever the topic is, whatever her field of expertise is. Maybe you guys should chat it up. I have done that so many times. And when I see other people doing that for me, I'm really taken aback in a really powerful way. I'm in awe. My mind is blown when somebody does that for me because I'm like, wow, they really went out of their way. They took an extra 2 to 5 minutes to start up that email thread because they see something between like me and Mario. Okay. And I think that is a good example of a really good leader. And I encourage you to be that leader. I want you to be the leader at the front of a zipper tab, pulling people together so the people are represented by the prongs of the zipper. I want you to just jump. I want you to be the one that pulls people together because it's going to make then all of the 3 of your orbits that much tighter, right? And then they now, right, can create something beautiful together. So I hope that this information has helped you to some degree. I really believe in this information. If you have any more questions, feel free to pick my brain. I promise I do not bite. And I want you to really realize that the sky is the limit, to think big, to dream big. And when you start doing that, I really believe that we have to put people first. And when we build that orbit and put amazing people all around us, then opportunities are going to unfold for your studio, your career, and or your business, because we cannot do it alone. Thank you so much for checking out this mini presentation. I would love to start up a conversation with you. So speaking of relationships, I would love for you to initiate a relationship with me. You can check me out through any social media platform. I can be found through Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Tumblr, and or Pinterest. And my handle is the same everywhere, Heidi K. Big A. Thank you so much and have a great day. Hey, thanks for listening all the way until the end of the episode. I hope that the content has served you well. If you are an avid Flute 360 listener, you probably recognize some of today's gems thrown into past episodes. And you are correct. In episodes 173, 174, and 175, all pertain to this very topic as well. But episode 201 today kind of smushed the information into one nice package for easy listening. Also, E201 is all about packaging together this content not only for you, the listener, but for the Babel Flute Magazine. The Babel Flute Magazine is an international online magazine that has amazing content in its archives for you. If you want to celebrate their 1-year anniversary, go and support them at thebabelflute.com. I really support and appreciate Dr. Barry's and her team's efforts when it comes to putting together valuable knowledge for the flute community. Go ahead and support them at thebabelflute.com. And remember, there's that mastermind on May 6, 2022 at 10 a.m. Central Time. This is a space for you, for accountability, for growth, and for networking. Come pick my brain, start moving the needle forward in your business and or career today. I'm rooting for you. Thanks.
Let's talk about flute.